Hi, my name is Tim Caffrey, executive producer and your host for today's show. Live theater is a great way to indulge the emotions, and my next two guests will be discussing with me all the passion, drama, and excitement that is live theater. That's next on The Tim Caffrey Show. Joining me now is Wendy Ishii, founder and artistic director, and Dulcie Willis, executive director of the Bleu Theater Company. Welcome, ladies, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
First of all, let me say thank you to both of you for extending your hospitality today in letting us film right here on the actual stage of the Bleu Theater. For me, this is very exciting, so thank you.
You are very welcome. We're excited to have you here, Tim.
I like that. Now, Wendy, I want to start with you. Now, the Bleu Theater has been entertaining Fort Collins audiences for the past 20 years, which that is remarkable in and of itself. But I want to ask you, how did it all begin in the beginning?
2 margaritas at the Rio Grande restaurant.
And here we are today. Okay, I like that.
I think a lot of things were conceived over 2 margaritas at the Rio Grande.
Okay.
And Bleu was one of them. I was invited to a lunch by Ava Wright, who had followed her then neurobiologist husband out to the prairie, as I had. My husband, Doug Ishii, from New York. And we moved out here in 1985. And Ava moved out here sometime later, saw me in a play at Open Stage, Dangerous Liaisons, and invited me to lunch because she had an idea. And she asked if she could direct me in a play called Duet for One about Jacqueline Dupre, who was really the cellist of the last century. And she tragically got MS. And this play was about an artist's loss of their art, and Ava gave it to me, and I read it, and I thought, nobody wants to see a play about a woman in a wheelchair talking with MS. But then I read the play, and I went, wow, this is really cool. And Fort Collins has such a tragically high incidence of MS, and so I thought it was important for our community. So we did it, and actually, to our surprise, it was a very, very big hit. It was so well received by the community. And that's really sort of how it began. We had a passion for a play, for a story we wanted to tell to our community that was relevant to this community.
Sure.
And the community embraced it.
Well, that's wonderful. That's excellent. That's great. Dulcie, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a Colorado girl. I was born and raised on the Western Slope, and fell in love with theater when I was about 8 years old. I started out as a dancer, and I went to college for dance, and then became a theater teacher and taught around the globe, Korea and Taiwan and Arizona, which sometimes felt like a foreign country. And then found myself back here in Fort Collins, fell in love with my future husband, and then also found Bleu while I was a teacher here with the school district, and partnered with Bleu quite often, so I knew Wendy and Tricia and everyone here very well from doing a few projects. And then went back to graduate school for arts administration, and then came back and fell into this lovely executive directorship. So that's my life story in a few seconds.
Well, you know, this is the thing that about me was when I first met the two of you and was talking with you, the passion and the excitement that the both of you bring to this, it was just so overwhelming for me. And I can see how you could take a leap of faith that, you know, you're going from something steady as a school teacher position to jumping into this, but it is. I mean, just the passion that both of you have is it even, you know, was bringing me into it. So that now, one question I have for both of you is, what is your secret for being successful for the past 20 years? What is it that keeps the doors open?
I think a lot of people always say we're the little theater that could. And I think we're the little theater that could because, one, we are little, so we can take risks, and those risks inform the passion of the kinds of things that we do. If you have a seat or a theater with 350 seats,
Sure.
You can't take as many risks as you can with a theater that's 106 seats, you know, because you have to have people in all those seats to keep it viable.
Sure.
When we started Bleu, we were in the Petite Bleu, as we call it, also on Pine Street, but over next to La Porte, and we had 49 seats. And the day that we opened that theater, my husband came home, and I was so excited because I figured out what we were going to open with. And I said, we're going to open with a double bill of Samuel Beckett plays, Krapp's Last Tape and Happy Days. And my husband said, I have this memorized, honey, how stupid are you? First, you name it Bleu, so nobody can say it or knows what it means. Then you put it on Pine Street, so nobody can find it. You have 49 seats, so you have no hope of breaking even. And you're opening with Samuel Beckett, that if people do know who he is, they hate him. And I said, well, we'll see if they want us here.
Okay.
And that was one of the probably smartest intuitive things that I ever did, because the community embraced us. You know, nobody thought they could do Beckett here. Nobody thought people would come, and they came out. We had to extend that role, that run. And I think that's really one of the keys to our success, is that we try to do plays that we are passionate about, that are relevant to this community, that we try to do to the best of our ability, and that we respect. And it's sort of like, if you build it, they will come. And we didn't know. One reporter told me, we did an interview, and she said, you know, there were bets on the street that you wouldn't last 3 months.
Wow.
You know? And we're still here. And I think it's really a credit to this community that they want to see works that maybe are not possible to do in a huge theater, because you have to make sure you can fill all those seats to sustain.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that we're small, and I'm fierce about, we're not getting any bigger than this.
Okay. Okay. Even if the people are at the door knocking down the door, it's still.
We'll add more performances, which I think is, I would love to go to 8 performances a week. I think that's better for actors, for the community. I think it's, you know, just working all the time. That's my goal, that we stay this size, but we're doing 8 shows a week someday.
That's excellent. Dulcie, how do you feel about, what's your take on the success that you see here?
Well, being a newbie, I've only been here a year. My perspective is that Wendy has a magic about her. And like you say, you're very attracted to this theater. You're attracted to the staff and their energies and their approach to the work. People want to be here.
Yes.
They want to be a part of this family, either as an actor or as a participant in the audience or as a donor or a volunteer. People feel attracted to this place, and they want to see it succeed, and they'll do anything to make that true. And I remember when I was a school teacher teaching at the high school here, and I would just stop by Bleu to say hello and to connect. It's a place where we can connect with each other, especially as theater artists, where we can just really talk the language,
Sure.
but also connect with people outside of our small circles, you know. And Like I said, I would stop by just to talk and connect, and then not necessarily look for a job or look for a project, but I just wanted to be with these people. And I think that's contagious, and a lot of people feel that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, sounds like you even picked it up too.
Absolutely. I may pick up a broom and sweep around just to be around it.
Maybe we'll recruit you for a show.
We can always try. We can always try. Now, I wanted to ask you, Wendy, where did you come up with the name Bleu? What does that mean?
Well, when Ava and I started after the margaritas, and we actually thought this is kind of a cool idea. And so we were having a lot of meetings and talking about, okay, maybe we can do this. What do we want to do? And we came up with the idea of it being a salon theater. And at that point, I hadn't even heard the Bleus. I just wanted it to be small and intimate, where we could do plays that we were passionate about, that our audiences would be passionate about, and then afterwards talk about them. To get back to the art of conversation, to have an antidote to sound bites and email and, you know, Twitter and all those things, which actually weren't even in existence then, but to really get people in a room exchanging ideas. And so we had this idea of, let's call it a salon theater. And then Ava came over to my house one day when I was mopping the kitchen floor, and she was reading through a book, and she was calling out names, because I said, we better come up with a name, because it looks like we're going to do this. And she said, Bleu, and it made me laugh. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, blue stocking. And I went, that's it. That's perfect, because I knew what the blue stockings were. And so here we were out in the prairie wanting to do shows that were not regular community theater shows. We wanted to do things that would excite us and get people talking and maybe take some risks. And so I thought, well, Bleu one was funny because everybody out here mispronounces French in the, you know, a lot of ways.
Bingo.
I told my agent in New York when we moved out here, I'm going to live on the Cache-le-Poudre River. And, you know, and then I found out it's the Poudre. And so I thought it was funny. It would fit in with all the kind of history of Fort Collins and the trapper history and the French names. And it would be funny to hear people try to pronounce it too. So it was kind of a joke. We thought we would last 2 years, and it was really just, okay, these women are coming out here and they're starting this salon theater to do works that maybe aren't otherwise available in a community theater. And that's what the Bleus did. They were women who didn't want to just embroider or play pinochle. They wanted to have conversation with men of letters and letters, and talk about politics and art and news of the day. And so they had these salons in the 1700s in France and England where they would invite men of letters. And the story goes that Mrs. Elizabeth Montagu was having a salon, and Admiral Benjamin Stillingfleet was invited, but he said, I can't come because I only have my blue worsted daytime stockings on, which is what men wore during the day, instead of their black silk evening stockings. And she allegedly said to him, that's okay, come in your blue stockings.
Okay, that's interesting.
And thus it formed.
That and 2 margaritas later, here
we had a name and we had a theater.
That's excellent. I love that. That's what again, like I say, that's what I love about you. Now I need to take a short break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We're now back. Thank you for joining us. Now, Wendy, I wanted to ask you that the Bleu Theater has won a long list of awards and accolades. Is there one or two that really stand out for you, though?
Well, I think I was absolutely astounded and very honored to, in 2008, be named Theater Person of the Year by the Denver Post,
Okay.
which was completely unexpected. And why I'm particularly proud of that award is that it's not just Wendy as an actor. I've been very fortunate and blessed to get a lot of those awards over my career, but the Theater Person of the Year award really embraced the whole theater and what we're doing in this community, and was more about the ensemble effort of building a theater, almost owning our own building, and really giving back to our community. So that was really, really exciting.
That's interesting.
And I'm also very proud and again a bit flabbergasted at this tiny little theater that started on Pine Street with 49 seats, that we now have a quite an amazing international acclaim for our work, particularly in the works of Samuel Beckett, the play that my husband told me we were crazy to open with. And Beckett has taken us, or Beckett's plays have taken us to South Africa, Australia, England, Israel, maybe Chile this summer, the UK, Australia, a lot of places, and we're written up in a lot of very Tony books and academic papers. So I think, to me, that validated the whole reason for starting this theater of, if you do works that you respect and that scare you a little bit, but you do them with a full heart and you do them to the best of your ability, people will respond. So I'm really proud of that. I have on my computer screen Sam Beckett's words, "Next time, fail better." And that's really the essence of this theater.
Oh, that's excellent. That's great. Dulcie, I want to ask you now, the Bleu Theater partners with CSU and also with the Poudre School District. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yes. Well, we have quite a community of talented young people in Fort Collins and surrounding areas. And I think young people are always looking for opportunities in their school, but also outside their school. And the specific projects that we do with CSU and the school district, CSU in particular, we are working to develop an internship program, especially for theater majors and arts administration. There's the Future Arts Administration program. But we also recruit them as artists and volunteers, and they work in a mentorship idea, a program in production. So we're always finding these young talented people to not only come help us play, but also learn from some of our best theater people here in the area. Just on this particular production of Trying, we have a couple of students who grew up in Poudre School District, and they went away to college, and they've come back during their Christmas break to help us build the set and hang the lights. They're still dedicated to us.
Sure.
They found an outlet other than their school theater to help them improve their skills, because there's not a lot of academic theater in the schools, and for them to have the opportunity to connect with community theater and professional theater practitioners has been a blessing to these young people. It's incredible that we have as many resources as we do for young talent in this town alone.
Oh, sure.
So that's what we're really able to offer, hands-on practice for these young folks. So
well, one of the things that one person was telling me one time, that the actors or the actresses, the people that are out there in front, it's it's a small amount of people that are actually successful, but there are still successful positions as being a stage manager and things of that, like either off Broadway or Broadway plays, where these people or playwrights or whatever that, I mean, they can start at a place like this in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then all of a sudden one day you're hearing about them as they're, putting on a production, right on Broadway. So
Absolutely.
that's what I
Yes.
think is fantastic about
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is the history of this building that you're actually in here at 401 Pine Street. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Wendy?
Yeah. I think this is the coolest building in Fort
It's
Collins.
beautiful.
I love it.
It is.
The first time that I came into it, it was full of augers, these huge, soil boring machines. And I thought, we can't put a theater in here. But Bob Ratty, who was with me, said, this is the best place I've seen in Fort Collins. We knew we'd outgrown the Petite Bleu, and we knew we had to get a little bigger. No bigger than this, though. And we came here, and it was like, oh, my God, how could we ever do this? And this building was built, my understanding is, because the battleship Maine was sunk, and there was an embargo on Cuban sugar.
Okay.
So a lot of the German sugar growers came to this area and grew their sugar beets, but there wasn't really a good way to irrigate them. So Frank Giddings, entrepreneur in his own right, built this building, and what is so cool about it is there's a 58-foot span. There's no poles in the middle. Usually you have this amount of space and there are support poles.
Sure.
But he's got these really cool trusses that you can see up above, and it makes it absolutely perfect for a theater. So we came in and we saw it several times, and our architect from Oregon, Tom Bauer from Bora Architects, came down, and he was just bouncing off the walls. He said, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. And so we went, okay, let's start a capital campaign. And we went from augers to actors in 102 days. The building was gutted, this floor was jackhammered, and a new one was laid. Doan Construction did all that work. And we opened with both parts of Angels in America. It was a fairly ambitious and crazy 102 days, but
Sure.
we did it. And the other thing I love about this building is that it sits right on the corner of the original Fort Collins.
Oh, wow.
So it's just reeks of history.
Sure.
And so to be able to, I consider actors and myself a storyteller in the community that we live in. And so to be able to tell our stories on this piece of ground that is so loaded with history is just, gives me chills in my neck when I think about it. I love it. So here we are in this amazing building, and this community has been so generous and supportive. We are this close from reaching our $1.5 million goal for phase one.
Great.
To own this building, and by April 7th we will burn the mortgage and own it free and clear. And that to me is astounding, from a crazy idea over 2 margaritas to
Right.
owning this building and telling stories for years to come for the community that we live in and love.
Well, it's also, it's been named a enterprise zone project, so that even helps out the city, because you're taking a dilapidated area of Fort Collins, that didn't see a lot of enterprise, and you're expanding that. So that's another thing that you're doing for the city.
We were the pioneers of Beat Street.
Okay.
We were the first ones to cross over the railroad track, and I'm very proud of that. It was, we didn't even know quite about Beat Street when we started, but we just found this building, loved it, wanted to do it, and then I started hearing about Beat Street. It was like, how cool is that?
Sure.
And then we got the enterprise zone, which Dulcie can explain how it works a little better, probably.
Yeah, could you, Dulcie? It's interesting.
Sure. Well, I know the most about the enterprise zone that I know has to do with tax-deductible donations.
Okay.
So if you make a donation to Bleu at $100 or more, or an in-kind donation at $1,000 or more, then we submit that donation record to the county, who then submits it to the state for a Colorado state tax credit at a cash donation 25% dollar for dollar.
Okay.
So it can be very advantageous for the donor.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to
and
know.
us.
And it helps. It's a win-win situation for everyone.
Absolutely.
Well, real quickly, I want to talk about the 2012. Now, as we were saying on the break, that Dulcie, you were saying that you're already in about the middle of the schedule of the 2012 season.
Right.
But what do you have left for the rest of 2012 plays and things of that nature?
Well, we're really excited about our next production. It's called Trying by Joanna McClellan Glass. It stars Jonathan Farwell, who's a well-known local actor, a former professional actor in television and stage. And that opens January 28th and plays through March 4th. It's about Francis Biddle, Judge Francis Biddle, who was the Attorney General during the Roosevelt era with the Nuremberg trials.
Oh, sure.
He's in the last year of his life, and he's trying to write his memoirs, and he hires a young secretary to write for him, and he's a real curmudgeon, difficult to deal with, but she sticks it through. And it's really about this beautiful growth in this relationship, overcoming a generation gap. And he does die at the end, but we discover that he did really care about her. And then we have a couple more shows, Rabbit Hole, and that is playing in April and May. And then we finished the season with Buffalo Gal by A.R. Gurney, featuring Wendy as the lead role, Amanda. And that plays June through July.
Okay.
So we have a lot to do before the end of the season.
It definitely sounds like.
Yes.
And then now the season will stop for the summer, and then starts back up again next September of 2012.
Right.
Is that correct?
The official main stage season starts up in September, but I have to tell you, we never stop.
Okay.
There's always something happening here. Special events, rentals, conversations, seminars. There's
Acoustic
always
Eidolon will be here for their eighth or ninth annual concert in August.
Great.
So yeah, we're always when
There's
you're in
always
your own
a
building,
concert.
you have to work 24/7.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Now, well, Dulcie, we've got about a minute left in the show. So if people have questions or they would like to volunteer or anything, where can they go to get that information?
Well, they can certainly call us at 970-498-8949.
Okay.
And or they can find our website, which is full of information about many opportunities, including a volunteer application form online.
Okay.
They can also sign up for our e-newsletter at our website. That's on the homepage at bobbleu.org.
Okay.
And then stop by and see us during our box office hours. We're also an art gallery, and our gallery is open during box office hours, Tuesday through Friday, 12:30 to 5:30, and Saturdays 1 to 4 at 401 Pine Street in Old Town, Fort Collins.
Great. That's excellent. Well, thank you, both of you, Wendy, Dulcie, for coming on the show today and sharing this information. What the two of you are doing and what the Bleu Theater Company is just excellent. My compliments to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Tim.
you so much.
Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, and remember, we at the Tim Caffrey Show believe that community awareness translates into community involvement. So please, get involved, volunteer, and together we'll make Colorado a great place to live for all its citizens. Goodbye.